Meeting out in Matheson and ran a little late. We'll open this meeting. It started here today being the 25th, and it is 1:36 p.m. Let's see, we got a new clock up there, so that's good. I have to guess the time now. So are we good over there? I failed to ask. Are we good? All right, thank you. All right, with that being said, who wants to kick this off? Sir?
This is the
Thank you.
kind of the beginning steps. Sheriff's Office is meeting in the evidence building. Still getting numbers together.
Right.
Would like to incorporate the coroner's office into the new building, which I believe would require separate funding.
Yeah, we talked about that, and I looked at the paperwork that you submitted. I don't know if you got my reply to that or not. Then I talked with the sheriff this morning, and we talked about, there was discussion about the evidence room, and then there was some, like a side or separate module.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Larger stuff.
It'll be 3 connexes, essentially with a roof on it.
Right.
It would need electricity only.
Okay.
No climate control in there.
We're gonna need climate control.
Okay.
For evidence. It needs to be.
Well, the evidence will be moved into the new building.
Okay.
So the connexes would then just be used for general storage of equipment.
When we had our discussion, I thought you were talking about the main building.
The main building, okay.
Right. The Connex boxes, electricity would be just fine.
That'll be fine?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Thank you. I just want to clear that up just to make sure, because we don't want to lose a case or something over something it's got to be controlled. It just.
Absolutely.
Evidentiary rules. Yep, okay. All right, so go ahead, sir.
So we're thinking 7,500 square foot, thereabouts?
Somewhere between 6,000 and 7,500 square feet.
And that would include the coroner's office as well, or is that just strictly for the evidence?
There's evidence,
portion?
and then there's a garage area that we're used for storage of evidence cars while we're waiting to get a warrant. And then we're also going to use that as a partial training area as well. We can move things out and use it for training.
So it was proposed, I have a 30 by 50 foot steel building in our north yard that's, it's all complete. It was just never assembled. The county bought it, and it's just been sitting there. I think something like that would be perfect for the coroner's office.
And then you found a
Yes,
company that would be able to come in and
yes, sir. Through Rapid Set, I found a contractor that could put it together for us.
you said that was about 12K?
12,000, yes, sir. But then it would need to be finished, the inside.
Interior, yeah.
Concrete pad and all that. But we do have the structure.
So it's been sitting there, just curious, is it in good shape?
It is in great shape, yes, sir.
Great shape?
Yep.
Okay.
Just to be clear, Commissioner, that 6,000 to 7,500 square feet did not include a coroner's facility in that building.
Thank you. I mean, Sheriff, this is a question for you, and I'll quit hogging the mic. With this space, do you think that's adequate, looking at the future as far as where we're at? I know it would be adequate today. I know you're from the floor to the ceiling and the back wall to the front. I mean, we've all seen it.
Yes, sir.
Just curious, do you think this would be a solution for the next 10 years, 20 years? What do you think?
I do. I do think it would be enough, especially the way it will be built and designed on the inside with shelving units and things like that. It would be a lot easier to process evidence that we can get rid of afterwards as well. That would free up some extra room as well.
Okay. All right, commissioners, other commissioners?
Go ahead, Nels.
How, I know we've been talking about this for a long time. How tall of a building are we looking at?
That's a good question. I know the office section of it would just be 1 story. The garage section of it, I would suggest the garage doors be tall enough for even pulling an RV in there, you know, a bus. Yes, sir. Yeah, 14, 15 foot tall.
So I'm imagining, I don't know, lots of shelves, kind of like you see at Costco or whatever, that you could put away. And so at this point, it's probably, once you have the footprint going up, it's not that much more expensive than going out, I would guess. So that needs to be a consideration as we're looking forward, is what height we want.
I think
to
you're
look at.
correct on that, sir. We also, in the past, have discussed second floor, we discussed basements, we discussed widening it, but nobody's really put a thumbprint on which one we're going to go with. And I think until we get a bid on some of this ideas and these projects, I think that would be the best decision to do, is wait to see the bid is. I know the past board did not want to do anything with an elevator, and I could see that. Still, I don't know how tall the building would be, even if we did a basement, and how tall it would be. And I agree with Maddie there. We need the door to be at least able to handle an RV, something of that sort, because who knows what we're going to bring in, right? So,
We looked originally at a second floor to house bulky items. In the past, I have seen couches and big rolls of rugs and things like that had to get stored on a homicide almost indefinitely. So bigger items like that, we would probably try to put in the Connex box.
those items you're required to keep forever. Anything to do with a homicide, you're required to keep it for, I mean, we have a car or truck, I guess, in the evidence lot. It's been there, I can't even tell you how long. They're probably just going to rust to the ground.
Where is that? So in regards to the Connex boxes and what using that still for some sort of evidence, I'm guessing your first paragraph here talks about you have some the converted trailer that has some odor that comes from it, and you would keep those, I would assume, separate so it doesn't contaminate it, that makes it smelly in the new room, whatever. And so to Commissioner McDaniel's point, would that, if they're being stored in the Connex box, do they need to be climate controlled? Some of this material that has odors with it.
Not that particular case, but since that time, when we found that deceased person, the clothing was still wet, we have purchased since that time a drying cabinet that you can put those items in that takes away a lot of that smell without destroying the evidentiary value of it. So we do have a drying cabinet now that we did not have at that time. So that particular thing, until we can get that prosecuted, we're pretty sure we know what happened there. But that person is in the Department of Corrections for another couple of years. So we're still working on that case, but we're lacking evidence to go forward with it. So.
Okay. I understand you have to be careful with what you're saying there. Toward the end of this, it'll be just before the last full page, just above the corner facility. Our goal is to dispose of as many items of found property and other expired evidence. Do we have any idea how much space that would free up at this point?
I really don't. I can't even give you a number of pieces of evidence that we have. Due to the past, before we took office, they were on basically a piece of paper. That's how evidence was stored. So it is now all electronic. So when we get back in there and try to move everything, we're going to delete as much found property and evidence that the statute of limitations has gone past. So we'll make a determination. Every case has to be gone through and researched. So it's going to take a lot of time to do that. But I'd like to say we're getting rid of 50% of that stuff, but I can't guarantee you that.
Until you dig into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable. Well, that last comment I have, for now anyway, we've talking about the coroner's facility. Have we included the coroner in our conversations with this?
I have not.
I have a little bit, not to an extent that I feel comfortable with that, so we need to.
As we go forward, she probably needs a seat at the table, so we can have that.
Agreed.
I have no issue putting that other building next to ours. We just tap into it, or instead of putting two fences, make one big fence around it. So I have no issue putting that over there as well.
Well, thank you. I think today was the first step, just to see where we were at in planning and see, what this would look like. I think the next step we need to do is we need to get the coroner in here and have a conversation with everybody at the table, and then we need to probably look at some bids and see where we're at with that. So I don't.
So we're hoping this spring, starting to go through the evidence to see what we can get rid of like right now, and what we still have to hold on to for appeals and things like that. But we'll probably, I'm not going to say we're going to do this, but probably hire a company to get rid of that stuff for us. And it's like a 50-50 split on,
There's a new policy that I'm getting ready to send out has to do with evidence and how we manage it. And also, if there's found items or other items that we don't know who the owner is, to have a procedure where we can turn that into county property. So we have, for instance, one case, we have a couple hundred pieces of Makita drills and things like that probably other departments in the county could use. So, well,
just about one 40-foot container is full of tools. Brand new, some of it's brand new in their case and everything, so.
I'm sure the county mechanics would appreciate it.
Yes.
So, and there's going to be a lot of stuff in there, just from my experience, you're not going to be able to get rid of. Some of these felony cases, you've got people that'll appeal 10 years from now. And
to be honest with you, we have a case right now that started before I took office, and we're still waiting on appeals for that before we can dispose some of that evidence out of our system.
Some of that stuff will be there when we're all dead and gone.
Probably right.
Most likely.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So in the past, we've had a lot of different iterations and thoughts of what might happen in the future at the Justice Center and remodel and that sort of thing. I assume this would be in a different location that wouldn't interfere to anything or could be added seamlessly put into it.
That's why we worked with I'll let Dave talk. We discussed that with the architects on how it would not interfere if we got to the point where we're expanding and remodel the Justice Center, that it would not interfere with any of that building or reconstruction.
For sure, we're going to have to do something with the courts with the new 23rd. So, that looking down the road, we got to, keep that in mind of what might happen in the future too. So I'm glad that that's being taken into consideration.
Yeah, the proposed location is just north of the current parking lot that we have now. And it was suggested that we get a civil engineer on board to help plan it. That way, we don't ruin any chances of expansion of the Justice Center. That way we plan it now, that way in the future we can tie it all together.
And so there's part of that large lot, I guess, that you all are on, also has some floodplain. So we're cognizant of that and keeping it.
Yeah, that's why we had a new survey done a couple weeks now. Yeah, we had a new survey done. Tomorrow they will be flagging sewer lines, water lines, electrical lines for us as well. So everything will fit into that plan still, hopefully.
We did check with the town of Kiowa today for water tap and sewer, and it's $6,500 per. So there's about $13,000 in permits from the town.
That's just for water and sewer, for taps on one of those.
Yeah, as soon as we have an actual plan of the footprint of the building and plans, we can submit that and then get a price for permits for the building.
Again. All I got for now.
Yeah, I kind of want to go through the document that you gave us. There's a lot of things we didn't discuss. The first thing that's jumping out at me is the square footage, 6,000 to 7,500. That's a big range. So as far as putting it out to bid, the first thing I would suggest is make sure we get it dialed down on, hey, we need exactly this much square foot. How do you get a bid on a range like that? You know, we need to determine, hey, we need 6,000 square feet, or we need 7,000 square feet, or whatever that number is. So I would recommend doing that first. I like the suggestion of a pole barn design to help save money. I don't know what the metal work on the additional building that we already have, the outside aesthetics, if you will, the outside sheet metal. If that's something that we would just use the frame of that building and then sheet metal it to the same as the pole barn new erection building that we're doing, so they all match and that would be aesthetically matched.
Yeah, that would be the goal, is to, whatever siding they choose for the building would make it match.
Yeah.
So it's all aesthetically pleasing.
Okay. And then we talked about, I think Byron brought up time frame as far as into the future, 10 years, 20 years. You guys feel this will last a long time. Is it expandable in any way? Let's say 20 years go by and we want to expand it instead of tearing it down and building a new one. Would it be expandable as a pole barn design? I don't know a lot about pole barn construction.
I don't either, and I can only assume it would be.
Yeah, they're easy to add on to. And the range, honestly, the 6 to 7,500 square foot, that range is, I'd like to get pricing for the single story like we discussed, but for growth and being able to have evidence plus training room space and all that, a second floor would be great. So I'd like to get pricing on different options.
What about a mezzanine style second floor where it's just stairs, you go up, there's a railing up there, and then there's, you know, it's kind of a quasi second floor, but not necessarily. You've probably seen them in some of the buildings. Yeah, that could be something that might work too.
And we've looked at that originally when we talked about this a 3 years ago, is putting some kind of a lift system, like a chain hoist rather than an elevator, just because of expense-wise. And it's something we didn't, you know, anticipate putting lots of small items up there, but the bigger, bulkier items.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It would seem to me you put the stuff that you're never, ever going to use up there.
Yeah, I was thinking just one flight of stairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
like a homicide case that has to be there forever. You stack out in the corner on the second floor and go by and make sure it's still there every now and then, I guess.
Well, that brings up a valid point, and we need to talk, maybe not today, but CCTV and, you know, access control, things of that nature. We're going to need to really talk about that and set up, you know, we can utilize AI equipment. Somebody's walking and you'll get an alert, that kind of thing. So
We thought about the fencing, we thought about all the shelving units, we thought about the cameras, we thought about the alarm. I'm sure the corners building definitely would need some alarm on their refrigeration units, things like that. I don't think of anything else for us.
The other thing about the building itself where evidence is we're going to see if there's a way not to have a sprinkler system in it, just because a sprinkler goes off and we'll lose all of our evidence. We're a good chunk of it. The other consideration you might think about with the coroner's office would be there's more and more pathologists that are traveling county to county to do autopsies. So, you know, do you pre-build an autopsy room, you know, pre-plumb it and electrical and all those things that you would need in an autopsy room, of which I'm not the expert on, but that might be something you think about in the future. Because I know now we travel to Loveland to get autopsies done. And the expense of people driving up there, I mean, that's a consideration too. You know, you might save a couple $100 on an autopsy, but when you've got 3 or 4 detectives going up, their time is important. The coroner's time is important. driving up there and back. So there's a lot of, if you put the numbers to it, might make sense to have an autopsy room already built.
I don't know of anything that's, every autopsy I've ever been to, it does not have to be like a sterile environment for, like you would for surgery because the dude's dead. But the point is, I think you got a valid point because you've got a coroner and you've got an assistant. And if they're tied up in Loveland, and you need a coroner here, we're on hold for a long time.
Can be, yes, sir.
And you got detectives that are going up there.
Just for example, we had three or four go up to Loveland of our people, go up, not including the coroner that took the body up north, but we had 4 detectives up there as well. And if we would have had something, it's kind of hard to put things on hold till people get there.
So just for the general public's sake, can you explain why 4 detectives would be? I know why, but I know the first question, why do we need 4 detectives in Loveland for an autopsy?
Well, there's several reasons. They watch the autopsy. They gather evidence, take pictures. They package the evidence to bring back to us, like
evidentiary rules, everything, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to put that out there just as a general statement because people want to know why, but it takes more than one detective to go up and collect some of these evidence, such as retrieving bullets or witnessing things like that. And I just wanted to put that out there since it's a public record, just to make sure people.
Especially on a big case.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that recently happened with our last officer-involved shooting is you've got the critical incident response team doing the officer-involved shooting portion. We had our detectives doing the criminal portion of the case, and I'm not sure who else went up there, but there's quite a few people that traveled to Loveland for that one particular case.
Right. I'm sorry to take us off track a little bit, but I just wanted, since you mentioned that, I just wanted a point of clarification for that. Sir, go ahead, sorry.
Sure. You guys talk a little bit about impact fees.
Yes, sir.
We're not, it doesn't sound like we're going to get into a detailed discussion today about financing and costs and that sort of thing, but it does mention impact fees, and it does talk about using a portion of the impact fees to help pay for the building, the furniture, the shelving, security systems, et cetera. But it also talks about reserving a portion of the impact fees. For a comfort level for you guys, what kind of reserves do you guys feel you need to set aside just to have on hand, or that you felt like you would contribute to this project?
I kind of felt at least 1 year's of payments would be a good buffer, and maybe that's not enough. I mean, that's not my area of expertise, but I would think you'd want at least 1 year of impact fees and reserves in case there's an economic downturn of some kind.
And then you also mentioned that you are looking at and exploring a grant from DOLA.
Right.
How far along are you in the grant process?
I can't really delve into that until I know what the cost of the building is.
Okay.
So Jim White has done that with ECA quite a bit, so he's offered to help me get with DOLA to go through the process and see if, number one, that there's funds available, number two, if they would fund part of it. They've been really good with us in Elbert County.
And it does say I will also be exploring.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it does say that.
Quickly, along those same lines, is that a grant that if we go ahead forward, it's reimbursable, or do we have to have that in place before you start?
I don't know.
Okay. Another thing to find out.
Yeah.
That could affect our timing on what we wanted when we were moving
with
on.
the ECA projects that we have paid up front and then been reimbursed by the grant.
That's all I had, other than just the overall fence enclosure. If you're doing both buildings with the containers, what size would that be roughly? Any idea, or how much space you actually have, or how much acreage you actually have?
I couldn't answer that right now. I don't even know how big the Corners building is.
30 by 50.
Yeah, but I don't know how much room they're gonna need in a driveway or whatever to get into that facility compared to our driveway and the drive-in portion of the evidence building itself for vehicles to be processed. I wouldn't have any idea right now, sir.
I can
But you sound like you obviously have enough room for what you're projecting.
We believe we do, and I believe from the survey and from Maddie's point of view, I think we do have a room for both of those buildings and a fenced-in area for everything around it as well.
I've got a question for you if you're finished.
Oh, yeah, I'm finished. Go ahead.
So with this 30 by 50 building that we're talking about, will there be a way to construct that where they can drive in like a sally port to get out of the environment when they're offloading bodies, that kind of thing?
One could be added to it, absolutely.
Okay, that's something that we need to do. And I know that the coroner's office, they're going to need a place to shower in the event that they get exposed to something. So that's something that we need to take into consideration as well.
And we do need to talk to the coroner to even find out if 30 by 50 is even adequate. It
Right.
might be way too small for what's needed.
In my conversation, she felt like it was okay, but we need to have an open conversation with her, not just me talking to her. Those are the two things that she expressed to me, was a shower and the ability to be able to get in and unload the body and so forth in clothes, so, and having a locked facility. And then that portion of that building is going to need to be separate. It's important when we're talking about evidence. I can't stress that enough. So there doesn't need to be a door going into the evidence room or anything like that. It needs to be completely separate. And I just want to point that. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I got. I wanted to ask our county manager, do you have any questions for anything, sir?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. Maddie's kept me informed.
Okay. Sir? Gentlemen, you got anything else we want to?
I know we would like to, and this is wishful thinking, right? We would like to get moving on this project sooner than later. So I hope I don't know what your timetable is of getting bids out. I got the town of Kiowa going to be out there tomorrow to do their portion.
Yes.
So the sooner I think we sit down and make plans to get this started, the better off it's going to be for us in our facility. I know we don't do this in the winter, so.
Agreed. Okay. Well, if that's it, then I'll close this meeting and say that no decisions have been made or acted upon today. This was just strictly a fact-finding meeting, and I appreciate everybody's participation today, and the time now is 2:04 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.